So if we continue the cycle here, according to the consensus establishment astrologers, this cycle has been so consistent. There's no need to look further and to make the assumption or the implication for the 2024 election, that being based that the Democratic Party, the incumbent party in 2024, and the Saturn in Pisces cycle during the election suggests a higher likelihood of the Democratic Party winning the election and possibly enjoying an extended period in power well into 2032. So now this was the electoral map up till September 20th. So taking the polls and prediction markets, in other words, what was the polling showing in each of the states and what were the prediction markets, which are 89% accurate, not the astrologers, by the way. They are not accurate. Historically, astrologers are not accurate because they're politically biased in most of their political predictions. They may not be biased in their general predictions, but when it comes to political predictions, they can't seem to help themselves. So what we look at is in mundane astrology, we look at the secular trends, we look at the polls, and more importantly, we look at the prediction markets, which have been somewhere between 88 to 89% accurate on every presidential election going back to 1948. So if we look at that in terms of the states, electoral college, and popular vote, what we see here is September 20th, 2023, is that the Democrats are winning decisively with 287 electoral college votes against the Republicans with 251 electoral college votes. So you need 270 to win. So in other words, for the Republicans to win, they would have to flip certain key states that went decisively in favor of Biden by very thin and narrow margins, but they went decisively in his favor after election day. Remember the mail ballots, right? So Trump won by election night decisively nationwide. And then they continued to count the mail-in ballots all the way until December 10th. And that's how Biden caught up. So he caught up on mail-in ballots, not based on the actual votes that came in. I'm talking about the decisive states here, such as the battleground states, such as Nevada, Arizona, Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Georgia. These states were won by mail-in ballots. That is a fact, and that's why the votes started to flip in Biden's favor as they continue to count and as voters were continuing to mail in their vote weeks after the general election. So that is a fact, right? So this is what made the 2020 election very difficult because election day continued. Election day actually started a month prior. It actually started sometime around early October of 2020 and lasted until early December of 2020. Now, the current consensus electoral map, if you take the consensus based on all of the political pundits out there, the Sabato Crystal Ball report, the Cook political report, you look at all these different, the New York Times, they have a consensus analysis where it's put together here by RCP, and it's indicating right now that the Democrats will win decisively by 303 points. So this is the consensus. This is not based on polling. This is not based on the prediction markets. This is based today on the consensus, based on the political trends by these various different political think tanks and forecast groups, New York Times, 586, all these different groups. So this is a consensus map. So this doesn't mean this is going to be the outcome of the 2024 election. This is what they believe ultimately, no matter what's happening now, will indicate a decisive victory for the Democrats. So this supports a majority of the astrological community, I would say 90% plus, that Biden wins regardless of what's happening with the economy, regardless what's happening in Ukraine, regardless what's happening in the Middle East, regardless how you feel, regardless of the fact that whatever the state of the economy or the markets, etc., the Democrats, particularly Biden, based on where we're at now, wins regardless. However, something happened that is upsetting and going against the trend and has never been seen with an incumbent president at this point. If you look at the history of the prediction markets, if you look at the 2024 US presidential betting odds, taking the betting odds averages of the largest betting pools worldwide, just not just in the United States, but worldwide, it seems from September 25th, 2023, that the prediction markets during the height of the Trump indictments started pulling ahead of Biden during this period here. And this is showing that prediction markets are seeing something ahead of the curve that the pundits are not seeing, what the astrologers are not seeing, what Saturn and Pisces cycle is not seeing. Something else is going on that's at least currently up to this point here, up to January 15, 2024, is disrupting the trend, And if we could see what the correlation is that a majority of the country, believes the 66.7%. This is unprecedented, by the way. If you look at the terms, if you look at the periods in which the country believed we were on the wrong track, we're almost at record-breaking levels. So 66.7. So this is the period here. Around this period here, when Saturn went into Pisces in March, just a reminder, we had Saturn in Pisces, March 7, 2023, ingressed. And I'm not saying this is the only factor, folks, but I'm just trying to point out Saturn in Pisces would imply incumbent party retention during re-election cycle. But when Saturn went into Pisces, what we see in March is that the direction of the country goes extremely parabolic, pushing past or close to the 70% level, meaning that it's hovering, if this was a price market, very close to the 70%, meaning 70% of the people in the country, regardless who they plan to vote for, who they did vote for or plan to vote for, or vote for regardless of how bad things get or how good things get, believe that the country is on the wrong track. So if we take that December 25th date here, when we see Trump pulling ahead, we note what? Saturn is in early Pisces. So Saturn entered Pisces and went retrograde. It went almost back to 0 degrees. The sun is on the world point. The sun is at 2 degrees of Libra. And as we know, the first 5 degrees of the cardinal signs is the world point. So we have a number of factors in play here. So at the time the sun enters the world point, we often see decisive shifts in trends that defines that period going forward. Some would even argue that from an astrological standpoint, that the sun when the sun ingresses into Libra would be the beginning of the new year, right? So there's all these different beliefs, but the bottom line is that we see that when Saturn in Pisces, the sun on the world point, and we see the approaching what? We see this, one of the closest aspects here is the approaching Jupiter-Uranus conjunction. That will be the dominant factor or dominant outer planetary archetypal factor that will be shaping and informing and influencing the election, the markets, the geopolitical, the macro, the body politic of America. So the Jupiter-Uranus will be the dominating aspect here. And this is when we see Saturn in Pisces, where Trump is pulling ahead. This goes very much counter to the trend.
Watch the full presentation with complimentary access to the 2024 Election Astro Insider Series. Sign up at no cost to you at williamstickevers.com or click the link below to access expert astrological analysis, insights, and updates for the pivotal 2024 U.S. election year. It's going to be an exciting election season. Sign up today to stay ahead of the curve, out of the mainstream noise, and empowered with a profound perspective on the political landscape. Go to williamstickevers.com and sign up for the 2024 Election Astro Insider today.